Recording in progress.
Good morning, everybody. We are so happy that you are joining us again for the continuation of our empowerment program for the NGOs in Nigeria. For those of you who are joining us for the very first time, we started this around June, July, and we've taken about 8 to 9 modules. And today we're starting a fresh module on grant writing. And this will run Monday, next Monday, Thursday, and then Monday, the upper week. And to lead us is Benga Ogunbowale. He is a social entrepreneur, an alumnus of the Leadership in Business Institute of Kellogg School of Management. Olugboyinka is the co-founder and CEO of Grantmaster, an online platform that connects ambitious organizations in need of debt-free and equity-free funding with the top 5% of grant writers. Grantmaster is backed by US Chamber of Commerce, Google for SDGs, Global Startup Ecosystem, AWS, DMZ, and so on and so forth. The facilitator for today's event is a Mandela Washington Fellow and an ambassador, Tony Elumelu Foundation. He's a mentor, he's an influencer. He has quite a wide experience. At a time, he was a yearly star of business, and he has received several awards. He's a two-time TEDx speaker. Olugboyinka has spoken at numerous events addressing high-level audiences, including governors, business tycoons, lawmakers, and stakeholders across 3 continents. He has been featured by the United Nations, Voice of America, USAID, NTA, TVC, Air TVC, BCOS, Radio Nigeria, Tribune, The Nation, This Day, among others. You will note that this facilitator of today is not a small person. So please, with a rousing welcome, please welcome Mr. Olugboyinka Ogunbowale.
Thank you.
So over to you, sir. You are free to share your screen and go ahead with the training. Please allow for at least 30 minutes solid discussion time so that the program ends at 1.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I'm really excited to be here today, and thank you. I can see the chat box. I can see some claps. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to do this together. I want this session to be as interactive as possible and as useful as possible to you. So if you're ready for this class, you're absolutely excited, and you're ready for this class, I want you to go to the chat box and I want you to type ready. I want to be sure that I'm not doing this alone, right? So if you're ready for this class, you are absolutely ready for this class. You're not just on this Zoom call, you are ready for the class. I want you to type ready. So let me see if people are actually ready for this class. I want to be sure that it's not just me, and I'm not just talking to an empty audience, that you are here and you're ready. So let's do this together. Okay, this is good. Okawin is ready. Okonko is ready. American Center Lagos is ready. Faith is ready. Lekki window is ready. Shegun is ready. Oshobo window is Oshobo window, of course. My phone Oshobo. Olajumoke is ready. Abeokuta window is ready. Metro Health. Wow, I love the energy. I love the energy. So let's keep this up, right? So this is going to be a very interactive session. The whole goal is to help you write better grant proposals, hopefully win grants, so that probably by this time next year, you guys are, all of you are thanking American Spaces Nigeria for putting this together, right? So that's the whole goal, to help you write better grant proposals, so that you can win grant funding for your organization. So I love the energy. Let's keep this energy up. So I'm going to share my screen right now. I'm going to share it shortly. Just a minute. Okay, I am sharing my screen now. Okay, I hope you can all see my screen. I'm also going to be monitoring the chat box. So yes, so please, I hope everybody can see my screen, and I hope you can all hear me. Are we good to go? All good from your end? You can see my screen, you can hear my voice, the sound is good, the video is good. Are we good? Please, someone just drop a comment in the chat box, right? So that we can start and fire on. Good to go. All right, fantastic. All right, thank you. Right. So I'm very excited to share with you today on grant writing. And think about this. Grant writing can have a fantastic impact on your NGO, because if you look at what an NGO does and the work that all of you are doing, it's incredible work, right? You are solving pressing problems in your community. You are helping the unemployed get jobs. You are helping the less privileged, live a better life. You're lifting people out of poverty, and all of this requires money, right? So you need grant funding. Now, the beautiful thing about grant funding is that a single grant can, in fact, fund your activity for an entire year. A single grant, just one grant, right? Just one grant. And I have all kinds of examples. We worked with a Grandmaster, for example. We've won a grant for a primary school now, for a media outfit, and then, of course, for an agri firm, right? So sometimes people think that, it's a certain kind of business or a certain kind of NGO that wins grant funding. But the truth is, from my own experience, if you have some basic things in place, you can indeed attract grant funding. And so we're going to be talking about all of those things and how you can write better. And once again, I want to welcome you to the class. Okay, so let's talk about the role of nonprofits. Now, if you want to apply for a grant, what do you have to do? You have to submit a proposal, right? If you get an email or you get maybe like an SMS saying that congratulations, you've won $1 million for a grant that you don't apply for, of course, you're about to be scammed. Like you're about to be scammed, right? I remember when I was in secondary school, I got one email that time, and then the email said, congratulations, you won, I don't know, was it not $10,000 or one amount of money? Call this number, right? And I was so excited, I went to call the number. Eventually, I was hearing one funny. My brother was just like, did you apply for this thing, right? Don't let them scam you. And it was such a long time ago. So you want to win grant funding, you have to apply for it. Now, applying for it involves submitting a grant proposal to a potential funder, right? This is basic, right? Funders will not just give you money except that you apply for it, right? Now, am I saying that that does not happen? It does happen where a funder just calls you up and gives you money, but that is when you build your reputation to a particular point, right? Where at that point, you're not chasing money, money is chasing you, right? So that's like very, very rare, very, very rare, right? But what is obtainable is that typically the funder will put out a call to ask for proposals, and then you have to write a proposal to apply for that opportunity. Now, you can secure funds from multiple sources. You can secure funds from private sources, such as foundations and corporations, or from public sources, such as from governments, right? Governments also give out grants. So it's not just private individuals. And we're going to be looking at how you can indeed put together solid grant proposals in this class, right? So, Bill, I can see your hands are up. Don't worry, we're going to have, after every 4 slides or so, I'm going to take a short break to take questions and ask you my own questions. So, this is going to be very interactive, and I will take your questions, as many questions as you can take during the short period that we have. So, Bill, don't worry, you can lower your hands now, but I will come back to you, I promise. So, let's move on. Now, let's talk about the purpose of this class. What's the purpose of this class? First of all, the number one purpose is for you to be familiar with the sources of funding, right? The funders. What are the funders? Public and the private foundations, right? Government is, we know who's funding government, right? For private foundations, they're usually funded by either, billionaires or multimillionaires or corporations, right? So sometimes you have big organizations who do their CSR. Let me give an example, for instance, MTN has MTN Foundation, right? The United States government gives out grants, a lot of grants every single year, right? So that's government, from the government angle, right? So if Dangote, for instance, through Dangote Foundation is giving out grants, that's from the corporation angle, right? Also, one of the things you're going to learn is also how to do your work involved in planning a strategy, in researching potential funders, right? That will support your project or program. Very important. You need to know where the funders are. Literally, right? You cannot seize what you cannot see. So you need to know who can fund, this project that I'm working on. Who can fund the work that I'm doing? Because not all funders are interested in the work that you're doing, right? And I don't mean that in a mean way. It's just the thesis. Every single funder has an investment thesis, right? The investment thesis is how they see the world and how and where they want to allocate funds. Let me give an example. There are some funders that are more focused on climate and climate-related issues, right? So if what you're doing is not remotely aligned to climate change or anything like that, they will not fund you. Not because the work you're doing is not important, but because you are not aligned with their thesis, right? And so, of course, the learning objectives, you're going to talk about the differences between, the different funders. We're going to talk a little bit about planning and research. We're going to talk about internal resources you can use to identify and select your funding resources. And we're also going to talk about how you can organize a proposal development team, right? Don't worry, because some of you are already thinking like, I have a small team, or it's only me, I'm the only one. How will I go about this? But don't worry. We're going to get to that. And like I promised, we're going to take as many questions as we can during the time that we have together. So let's get started. Now, I want to kick things off with definition of terms, right? And what is private sector funding? Let's start from private sector funding. That's grant funding secured from a foundation, corporation, or other for-profit entity, right? So who can give me examples of private sector funding? I mentioned some earlier, right? So like Dangote Foundation, MTN Foundation, right? Tony Elumelu Foundation, that's definitely private sector funding, right? So who can give me more examples of private sector funding? Funding that is not from government, right? But the funder, and the funder is from the private sector. Anybody? Just think about some of the biggest corporations that you have, that have foundations, all right, that have CSR programs. And if you mention their names, you probably would be correct. So I want you to go to the comment section right now and give me examples of private sector funders. Google, thank you very much. God's time, right? Google is a major private sector funder, right? Google does multiple programs every year. They have a particular grant for media houses. We won that for a client, RCDIG last year. They have a grant called Black Founders Fund for startups. They have a grant called Africa Online Safety Fund. So if you're involved in internet safety or internet awareness, like, you should check out Africa Online Safety Fund, right? So Google is huge. MTN Foundation, thank you very much. UBA, yes, UBA. Tony Elumelu is the chairman of UBA. So through Tony Elumelu Foundation, because the thing is, if you are a beneficiary of Tony Elumelu Foundation, you have to open a UBA account too. So UBA and Tony Elumelu Foundation are like 5 and 6. Rose of Sharon by Fellow Sharon. Yeah, fantastic. TY Kanjuma, this is beautiful. Wikimedia, this is beautiful. So it's good to know that we understand who private sector funders are. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, wow. I mean, this is fantastic. You guys are on fire. I'm in the right place. I love this. Okay, so what about public sector funding? These are funds secured from the federal, state, or local government source. Now, I don't mean just the Nigerian government. I don't know how many of you remember, but in 2020, the federal government of Nigeria actually gave out grants. Did anybody win it here, right? I applied for that grant and I remember we won it, right? And the grant was basically to cover like salaries. And the government did that, was it 3 or 6 months or so? The government was paying salaries, of not complete salary, right? It was like half, right? But it was something, right? And they helped us cover salaries for some months, right? And it was really cool. Federal government of Nigeria, I was very excited, right? Yes, you win. You win is a federal government of Nigeria program. And so you also have the US government, and the US government gives out a lot of grants every single year. If you want to track grants by the US government, you should check out grants.gov. Grants.gov is a fantastic resource for everything US government grant related, right? So grants.gov. Let me just type that in the chat box, because some of you might want to check it out. Grants.gov. It's a fantastic place. So one thing you should also notice that when we're talking about governments, it's not just the federal government, the state where you are, or just the American government. A lot of developed nations actively give out grants, right? So when you talk about the Dutch governments, the French government, they actively give out grants. It's just that some of them have different, their areas of focus is different. Like the French government actively prioritizes French-speaking countries, right? So it means that if you apply for a grant that is organized by the French government, before they read your own application from Nigeria, they'll probably have read like 2 or 3 from Togo and the Republic, right? And it's not favoritism, it's just their own focus. You need to understand the thesis of the funder. You need to understand the focus of the funder, the thematic areas that they focus on, right? You really need to understand that. So thank you all so much for sharing. Now, what is a grant, right? A grant is an award of funds made to an organization as a result of an approved proposal, right? There's one thing that a lot of people don't know. People think that when you win grant funding, they'll just give you all the money and you can do whatever you like. No, that's not how grant funding works. When you win a grant, before you are given that grant, you will sign a contract. The contract will have milestones, right? And another key thing you should also notice is that a lot of grants come in tranches, meaning that the money you'll be given, you'll not be given everything at once. So let's say you hear that, an organization has won maybe $50,000 grant funding. They will not get everything at once. That money will be released in tranches. Those tranches will be based on milestones. Those milestones will be based on what they wrote inside the proposal, right? So I hope you're getting how this works, right? Because some of you are like, oh, so that's how it works. Yes, that's how it works. If you win one bumper grant, don't expect that you get everything at once. Now, am I saying that that's how it happens all the time? No. There are some funders like Tony and Millie Foundation. They will send you the entire $5,000 at once, right? But essentially, usually, as the money gets bigger, the funders then, release the money in tranches. So, what about a funder or funding source? A funder or funding source is either a public or a private sector organization that accepts and reviews proposals and then awards money. That's who a funder is, right? And what is a grant application or a proposal? That's the document or sometimes documentation, right, that you use to obtain funds. Now, a proposal is not necessarily just like a single document. Sometimes your grant application can involve as much as 15 different documents. It depends. It depends on the technicality of the application, right? There are some applications where, even US government applications, right, US government grants, where they'll tell you, attach this, attach that, right? And the interesting thing, if you submit the application without attaching the required documentation, they will not review your grant. They will not, automatic disqualification. So I think it's very important that I mentioned this, earlier, because some of you are like, oh, I've been applying, I've not been winning. Maybe one of the reasons is that you've not been following the instructions, right? No matter how beautiful your proposal is, if you don't attach the required supporting documentation, it's very likely that the funder will not even open the application at all. They will not. Because you are making their work easier, right? The first step is screening out the obviously unqualified or disqualified applicants, right? So, very important to note that. Now, the final definition of term, the final term that I would like to define is the RFP. What is RFP? RFP is request for proposals. Anytime a funder releases maybe a news release or an information on their website saying apply for so grants, the grant is available, that is an RFP, right? That is called RFP because of proposal. Any announcement saying come and apply for grants, right? That is what is called RFP. Now, the reason why an RFP is very important is because inside the RFP you will see the deadline. Inside the RFP you will see the focus area of the funder. Inside the RFP, you will see the eligibility criteria, right? Inside the RFP, you will see the countries that qualify. Sometimes you will see an opportunity and you'll be like, yeah, I can apply for this. But by the time you check, you see that Nigeria is not among the list of countries, right? If you apply as a Nigerian, what will happen to you? You will be automatically disqualified. So RFPs are really critical. As someone who wants to apply for grant funding, you want to explore opportunities, you need to learn how to read RFPs. And you need to learn how to follow instructions and just read the eligibility criteria. Because if you're not eligible and you apply, you're just wasting your time, right? You're just wasting your time. So, okay, let's move on. Yes, like I promised, we have plenty class interactions. So this is also the point where you'll be able to ask questions, for people who have questions, right? But let me start with my own questions. So what other grant-related terms have you come across, right? And which ones would you like us to discuss? So the chat box is open. You can also raise up your hand, and I will call you. I know that Bello has been raising up his hand for a long time. So Bello, this is your opportunity, please. Bello, do you still want to share? I want to turn on my stopwatch now so that we don't overshoot our time. Okay. Bello, your hands are up. Okay, maybe it's a mistake then, but please double check. Okay, CTY coaching is saying I haven't come across any. Okay. Any other person don't come across any term, maybe while you are applying for a grant, came across a term and you're like, what does this term mean? Right? What is this? What does it mean? Any confusing term? Okay, no hands are up. And no comments. So I think we're fine. I'm assuming that we're fine. Okay. But before we move on to, of course, the next section, I want to be sure that you're following and that you're learning. So I want you to go to the chat section right now if you're learning something or you've learned something new, right? I want you to go to the chat section right now and I want you to type, I'm learning. And if you are not learning, right, please type it there, I'm not learning. Or if, for instance, you have an issue with something, maybe I have a tendency to go very fast, right? I can talk very, very fast. So I have that tendency. I'm reporting myself ahead of time. So if, for instance, you are struggling to hear me, you're like, Benga, you're too fast. Type it there and say, Benga, you're too fast. Slow down, right? Give me feedback in real time. I'm here for you. You absolutely have to get value from today's session. Okay, Faith is learning, Bliss is learning, Omolola is learning. Sylvia, what about subsidy? Okay, this is good. So I think sometimes I'm coming out now. Sometimes, okay, Bliss is saying concept notes, right? So what is a concept note? A concept note is a summarized version of a proposal. A concept note is usually a summarized version of a proposal. Now, that depends on the funder. Sometimes a funder will say concept note, and that concept note can be like 10 pages, right? So it really depends on the funder, the interpretation of the concept note. But essentially, just think about the concept note as a proposal. And most often than not, concept notes are usually like summarized proposals. So let me give you an example. There's a particular grant that is open right now. It's called the CFYE, Challenge Fund for Youth Employment. It's by the Dutch government. Yes, I think the Dutch government. And essentially, it is in multiple stages. So stage 1 is the concept note. Stage 2 is the business case. So the concept note is about, I think, 3 pages, but the business case, oh God, the business case is over 11 pages. So most times concept notes are usually like very summarized versions, whereas the full-blown proposal, it depends on the funder. They can call it different names. For CFYE, they call their own full-blown proposal, they call it business case, right? So it depends on the funder. But just think about a concept note like a proposal, right? That's the simplest way to explain it. So please, I hope that helped. Sylvia is saying, what about subsidy? Sylvia, when you say subsidy, how do you mean exactly? Because subsidy in grant funding, maybe Sylvia, if you can give us like some context about where you saw it and probably what you saw, right? Maybe that can help me tackle this term. Okay. Okay, CTYN coaching is asking, I'm learning though, how do I set for grant opportunities? I can quickly answer this question because I think a lot of us would benefit from it. You can use websites like fundsforngos.com or opportunitiesforafricans.com, or you can just follow Grandmaster on social media. Like we share opportunities on our social media channels. We share opportunities via our email newsletter, right? So even without patronizing Grandmaster or anything like that, just sign up for our newsletter. You'll be getting grants in your email every week, free of charge, right? Or you go to opportunitest.org or opportunitiesforafricans.com, right? You see grant opportunities from this site, free of charge, free, absolutely free. Okay, Bliss is asking, what's the name of the organization you just mentioned that calls your proposals business case? So Bliss is, they call the stage 2. That's the full-blown proposal. They call it business case. That's CFYE. Challenge Fund for Youth Employment. Okay, just 1 minute. I want to double check this. Let me see if I can share their website. CFYE. Yeah, Challenge Fund for Youth Employment. I'm going to share their website now, so that we can all, because some of us are probably working in that space. You're helping people get employed, or maybe your NGO is active in that space. So I think that would help. So, Fund for Youth Employment. The name of the fund itself is the Challenge Fund for Youth Employment. That's the name of the fund itself. I am going to share the websites now. Sorry, just a minute. I'm going to share them. Opportunities.org. There's also Opportunities for Africans. Okay. Just a minute. I want to share social media handles. Yes, social media handles. So check out Opportunity Desk for Africans, opportunityforafricans.com, opportunitydesk.org, or Gramercy on social media. You can get grant opportunities, absolutely free of charge. You can also subscribe to Gramercy's newsletter. You get weekly grant opportunities, absolutely free of charge. Free of charge, right? And for the person that asked for CFYE, I have dropped the link to that opportunity. If you're doing anything related to jobs or employment, you really should check out that fund. It's a very exciting fund. Okay, so let's go back. Beautiful, right? So I think I've answered every single question. And how many minutes have we spent? Sorry, just checking my stopwatch here. Spent a little bit of over 6 minutes, but I think it's useful. It's a very good time. Someone is asking, how can I raise funds for a youth project? So, Omalala, I think the answer to this will be clearer as we move on. Please, okay, thank you for sharing. You're welcome. So, Omalala, don't worry, just do like this. We are coming, right? We're coming. Okay, so back to the slides now. Now, let's talk about the importance of planning and research. Now, this is the thing. After you've decided that you're going to apply for a grant, you need to figure out where to look for it. And I'm really grateful for the question that was asked earlier, and which is why I've shared some of those sources where you can find grant opportunities, right? Now, you need to do your homework, right? You need to do your homework. Now, the first thing is to first clarify the type of project that you want to fund. Grants are all about projects, right? Grants are all about projects. You have to have project ideas in your head. Now, what is a project? A project is simply an intervention that is designed to empower a certain target group over a certain period. Let me take that again in case you missed it. What is a project? A project is an intervention that is designed to empower a certain target group over a certain target period. Meaning that in order for you to have a project, you need to first have what? There has to be a problem. There has to be a problem that you think your project will be able to resolve, right? Now, think about it this way. Let me give you an example that I use a lot. Think about grant funding as social impact capital that plugs gaps in society, So let me give you an example. Do you know that there are communities in Nigeria that still do not have power supply right now? That have not had power supply for years. Do you know that there are communities in Nigeria that don't have power supply? I'm not talking about maybe they only have 1 hour power supply every day. I'm talking about they are not even connected to the grid. Do you know that? Please go to the comment section. I want to be sure that we're together, we're following. Do you know that there are communities like that? Okay, Malala. Yeah, thank you for responding. Now, Imagine that your NGO is focused on maybe solar power, providing electricity to people in those communities, right? So you can now design an intervention around providing power supply to those areas, right? Now, the thing about those rural communities is that a lot of them cannot afford the service, right? They cannot afford to buy a solar panel. Solar installation is generally very expensive, right? As I'm talking to you, for instance, in our office here, we're running on solar, right? We have a 5 kV solar setup, right? And it's expensive. So it's not the kind of thing that you probably maybe would sell easily to a rural community, right? So what does it mean? It means that as an NGO who is involved in that space, you have to go and look for the money elsewhere. And that's where grant funding comes in. So imagine you design an intervention where, okay, you probably set up a massive solar installation, right, in the community, maybe a small community. It can be maybe like 5 kV, 10 kV. When you then distribute it, what is called a mini grid, why then distribute it to the rural community? Now, that initial cost of setup can be covered by the funder, but funders always like sustainable projects. You can then say that, okay, the cost for the estimated bill that they will now be paying after the installation, right? It will now be cheap. It can now be maybe they will be paying 500 naira per month or 500 naira per week, right? For using social amount of electricity. So the funder is very interested. The funder is like, this is interesting. If we give you 10 million naira or 20 million naira, you set up this system, right? But we will not keep giving you money. How we are going to make money now is through the subscription plan of the people using the power. And essentially, the funders are excited. I mean, think about this. Imagine a funder who just wants to do good in the world and they're interested in energy. And you are telling them that you are going to electrify a community that has not had power supply in 25 years. That's massive. That is massive. That is what an intervention looks like. Sorry, let me go back. Sorry. That is what an intervention looks like. So you need to have clarity on the kind of project that you want to fund. Bliss is sharing. So let's take this comment from this. Yes, I know. I was recently consulted to carry out a needs assessment in some communities, and lack of electricity was one of the issues in a number of communities. Thank you very much. Right? Bliss just raised a very key term, which is needs assessment. Right? Don't just say, "Oh, we're going to apply for grant funding, and we're going to just put in the proposal." Is there a need in that community? Is there a need? Right? It is the need that will then inspire you to say, "Okay, what kind of projects can we do to address this particular need?" Because if in a community, if the pressing problem is education, right, and maybe probably there's a lot of poverty in that environment, and parents are unable to send their kids to school because they don't even have money for school fees, they don't have money to give them food to go to school, right? Those are the kind of problems that led to the kind of intervention that the federal government is doing in some states in Nigeria, where they introduced free feeding, right? Because when they did the needs assessment, they found out that some parents just could not afford to buy uniform, could not afford to feed their children. And they're like, oh, so if we provide free feeding, it will drive the environment. And ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly what has happened in a lot of those communities. The free feeding program increased the enrollment because the children are like, at least if I go to school, I will get food, right? So very important. You need to clarify what type of project you want to fund. So please, thank you for sharing. Treasurer is saying, how do I raise or get a grant for youth empowerment? Treasurer, the question is, when you say youth empowerment, what do you mean exactly, right? You can empower youth in a multitude of ways, in a variety of ways. So what type of project? You need to first have clarity about the type of project. What type of project? Now, after we identify the type of project, so let's say Treasurer, for instance, now, youth empowerment. Let's say the way Treasurer wants to empower youth is that Treasurer wants to do a digital skills training program where the beneficiaries will learn those skills. Probably you have like a virtual component and an in-class component. So they learn virtually, then you also bring them together, they learn in the class. And then beneficiaries are paired with mentors, people who have gone ahead of them in the industry. And then beneficiaries get gadgets, maybe smartphones or laptops. And then again, beneficiaries are monitored and receive post-training support for another 3 to 4 months. Now, that's what a solid intervention looks like. I won't mention the name of this person, but it's a particular politician, because this political, I don't want to sound like I'm campaigning for anybody. There's a particular politician in Ibadan who, a member of the House of Reps, who did an intervention, right? And then I spoke at that event, and Of course, it was pro bono, right? And I was very happy to do it. Why? Because we did was not only were the participants trained, all of them got laptops, like literally laptops after that training. They all got laptops, right? And that's exactly what like an intervention looks like, right? It's not just about training people or giving them the knowledge, right? It's also about giving them the tools to ensure that they succeed. So, Treasure, I hope I'm giving you some ideas around youth empowerment. Gabriel, I did not mention anybody's name. No, nobody should. I am not there. So, please, I did not mention anybody's name. Right? But essentially, like, it just helps you think about interventions, because a lot of times NGOs try to apply for grant funding and they just keep going rejection after rejection. You really need to look at your program design. Step number one, are you actually addressing a problem, a pressing problem? Step number two, the intervention you designed, does it tackle the problem end to end? Because if 10 people are applying for the same grant funding and the funder will only give out grants to 1 or 2 persons, it means that the funder will give out grants to the organization that, number one, is most prepared, and number two, is showing innovation, they are showing ideas, concepts. They are showing that they really thought it through, right? Okay, we have a feedback from Taiwo. I run a 5-month leadership and mentorship program for selected undergraduates across Nigeria, but it's niched, specific to pharmacy students. We received positive testimonials since we started in 2019. Any funding opportunities for an initiative like ours? So Taiwo, if it's a leadership and mentorship program, the question is, do we have funders that fund such programs? And of course, the answer is yes, right? The US government, for example, funds programs like this. And the US government funded a program by Mandela Washington Fellow. His name is Dario Nigeria. Matadors Leadership Initiative. You guys can check it out, right? And basically what they are doing is they did a project, and I think it's still continuing now. They did a project where they are teaching young secondary school students, mostly girls, on STEM skills, right? Teaching them coding and all of this. And then they partnered with a tech hub, partnered with some trainers, and then they did the training. It was really massive. I read about it in the press, even though I also talked about it, and very exciting program. So now the US government is just one out of many funders. So you need to look for those funders. Who are the funders that support leadership programs that are big on mentoring and leadership? That is your homework, Tyler. Those are the funders that you need to look for. So I hope I helped. And that takes us to step 2, which is like identifying the potential funding sources. You should not skip step 1, because if you don't have clarity on the type of project, you'll be wasting your time on step 2. You need to first have clarity and say, okay, this is the kind of project that I'm aiming for. Then you start looking for the kind of people or the kind of funders who can fund it, right? And step 3, find out as much as possible about the organizations to which you want to submit a proposal, right? And I like this part where, it's saying here that it's far better to submit appropriate grant proposals to a limited number of potential funders than to send a proposal to numerous funding sources, right? So some of you, for example, right, after this program, go like, yeah, American Spaces, they taught us how to write grant proposals. And so we just write one proposal and then we start submitting it everywhere. No, that's not what American Spaces, that's not what we are teaching you. No. It's better that you're submitting maybe one proposal per month or just one proposal even in 3 months. And that proposal is tailored to what the funder is looking for versus you doing copy and paste. Let me explain this using jobs, application for jobs. Think about how people apply for jobs. And some people just, when they see any vacancy, they'll just attach their CV. Imagine that maybe the opportunity is probably, maybe the company is looking for a digital marketer. And the experience of your CV is teaching. But because somebody has shared it in your WhatsApp group, you're like, oh, another vacancy. They said, send your CV to this email, and you send your CV, right? What is the likelihood that that person will be selected? What is the likelihood? Is it very likely that someone who has teaching experience and knows nothing about digital marketing, is it very likely that that person will get an interview with the digital marketing company? Please, I want to see your response in the chat box. What is the probability that the person will get? Oh, thank you very much. It's not very likely. It's not likely. And that's exactly the same thing that happens when NGOs apply for grant funding and they just send one proposal, they just send it across multiple funders, shotgun, like a shooting gun, right? You are going to be getting rejection after rejection, right? So find out as much as possible about this. Now, how can you do this? Number one, go to their website, right? Go to their website, right? Check out the US Mission in Nigeria, for example. Check out their website. Check out the programs and the projects that they funded in the past, right? Go to the website of those people that they funded, right? See how those people are talking about the work that they are doing, right? Because the best proof of, let me put it this way. The best set of people to mentor you when it comes to like winning grant funding and winning specific grants are people that have already won that opportunity. They are the best set of people, right? They are the best set of people. Like, let me give you an example. So I'm a Tony Elumelu fellow, and I've had not less than 30 people, right, become fellows. So when it comes to maybe like Tony Elumelu fellowship, for example, like even if I close my eyes, waking up in the middle of the night, I can share useful tips that can help you win, right? Or maybe like other grants that I've worked on. So because I've gone through the process, I understand exactly what they are looking for. And so it's very important. Learn about the organizations, right? Then check out the people and the programs that they funded, the organizations they funded, check them out, right? That will help you understand what is required of you. So I hope we're together. Lucy, if the person has a passion and drive, why wouldn't she be employed? After all, there's no job that's not teachable. So Lucy, okay. Lucy, the thing is this. Imagine if 100 persons applied for one vacancy, which is what happens in Nigeria all the time, right? Who will the company pick for an interview? They will pick the most qualified person, right? They will not pick somebody that just has passion and drive, right? Except the company is looking for an intern. So Lucy, the probability that person will get that interview is very, very low, except maybe the organization is looking for an intern. In which case, right, maybe that person will get a chance, right? So the whole goal of this program, the reason why we're having this training is to help you improve your chances, significantly improve your chances of winning grant funding. So Lucy, I hope that helped. Okay, let's move on. So how can you identify and select potential funders, right? Remember what I said earlier about, sorry, just a minute, I want to check our stopwatch. I want to be sure that we're right on time. Remember what I said earlier about the different types of funders, right? You have a private sector funding, you have a public sector funding. So for the private sector funding, you can check their websites. A lot of big organizations have massive CSR firms, CSR arms, right? So just think about one big organization that you know and go and check their websites, right? Just go and check their CSR or just Google, maybe for instance, Dangote Foundation, type Dangote Foundation, put CSR at the back. It will most likely lead you to their foundation page and then you can see the work that they're doing. For example, I know that, what's the name of this billionaire? Rabiu Samad, BUA Group, right? Those guys also do a lot in that space. They give out a lot of grants too, right? So just think about any big company that you admire, put CSR at the back or put foundation at the back, right? And you can check them out, right? You can also check directories. I mentioned some earlier. You can also check newsletters. I mentioned Grandmaster's newsletter as an example, right? If there are other newsletters too, you can also join them where you can get, all these grant opportunities, right? So networking is also a very excellent tool. Why is it important? Let me give you an example. There's this grant that we won last year. It's the Bangabandhu Innovation Grant. Let me share that with you. It's called the Big Grant or the Bangabandhu Innovation Grant. Bangabandhu Innovation Grant. Now, I've shared it in the comment section just in case you're interested, or something that's aligned to your work. Please check it out. Now, this is a story. So I saw the opportunity literally on a friend's WhatsApp status. Literally. 24 hours to the deadline. Now, why I was able to apply because, they were not even asking for a full book proposal. They were asking for a pitch deck. And of course, Grandmaster now, we have a pitch deck now. So it was very easy to just apply. Next thing I knew, we went to the second round, went to the next round, final round, we're selected among 10 startups in the world. We won the grant, right? And so that's it. It's very important that you surround yourself with, NGO leaders, business owners who are also chasing opportunities. Because what happens is that people like that share those opportunities on their wall, on their social media feed, on their WhatsApp status, right? Let me give you an example. Like, if you check my Facebook page, for example, hardly does a week go by where I don't share opportunities. For example, yesterday I shared about 4 different grant opportunities on my Facebook wall, right? I think I shared it on Facebook and LinkedIn, right? And so that's why it's important to follow people like that. Once you see that maybe there's an organization, a particular organization is winning grant funding, right? It's important that you can follow the founder of the organization, because it's very likely that that person has access to information that you don't have access to. And people like that typically share it. They don't hold information, right? Like at Grandmaster, for example, this is the work we do all day, every day. So what's the point of holding grant opportunities? We share them. Right, so it's important. If you follow the right people, you would get access to opportunities that you may not even find on sites like, Opportunity Desk. Next is public sector funding, right? This is the shortcut to this. Think about all the developed nations of the world, maybe G8, G20. Almost all of them have serious, massive CSR operations. Why? Because it is good for PR. Simple as that. It is good for their image in the country. Think about this, for instance. If you are, imagine that you are, let me give you an example. Imagine that you travel to your friend's place, right? And you are a visitor and you are staying with them, right? Now, and you are staying with them for maybe some months, right? And they are welcoming you in their house. You are eating free food and everything. Once you get to a point where the people in the house will be wondering that, when will this person contribute money? Or when will this person contribute to our upkeep in this house? How many people can relate? How many people can relate? Where you go to visit a friend or a family, and because you're staying for so long, eventually the expectation changes from we're just a guest to this person should also contribute to our upkeep, right? Right. How many people can relate to that example? I know this has happened to me, right? Because once you stay very long in a place, right? If you visit somebody for one day, they will treat you like a guest or like a visitor. But you're staying for 1 month, 2 months, they will start expecting you to contribute, right, to the economy of the house, right? Even if it's just buying clothes or, right, or maybe contributing money for food, right? Don't expect that they will just be, everybody will just be serving you and you will not be responsible. And that's literally why a lot of developed countries do major CSR programs in the country where they have their embassies. Right? Because they have to show that they are also responsible, that they are concerned about the growth and development of the nation. Otherwise, how will the countries have, how would they have a good relationship? Right? So CSR is a diplomatic tool, because if a country is doing huge CSR in the country, then it's easier for both countries to discuss, and have common ground, right? So CSR, so what am I saying? Essentially, think about all the developed nations. Think about Germany, Netherlands, America, UK, all of them have major CSR operations in Nigeria, all of them. So you can just Google the name of the country, put CSR at the back, or put foundation at the back, or put grants at the back, right? And voila, you get led to their website where you can find the opportunities. So that's for public sector funding, international public sector funding. Also, let's bring it back home in Nigeria. We also have the federal government of Nigeria giving out grants, right? And so you can always, especially in Ministry for Youth and Sports. I think other ministries also give out the Ministry of Youth and Sports, right? So please try these opportunities. Okay, I want to take some comments. So I'm going to the chat box now. I can see that we have some comments. Omolola, I do cooking competition for schools, especially for low-paying schools, so as to help students get scholarship for their secondary or tertiary education. My company are written proposals to different food companies, but we seem not to have headway. What should we do, please? Omolola, you do cooking competition. So that cooking competition is, what problem are you solving? Omolola, what problem are you solving? Tell us about a problem in the comment section. What problem are you solving? You remember what I said earlier, right? That your project intervention has to be in response to a need, right? Maybe you did need assessment. So what problem are you solving, Omolola? So we can take it from there. Bello, on the sideline, sir, still talking about this grant issue. Today, it is very rare to see any institution in Nigeria being granted funds by multinational corporations to embark upon a viable research that will benefit humanity. But countries like South Africa, Kenya, Morocco are like babies to these MNCs. Have you any ideas why non-Nigerian schools are concerned for such glorious help? Or don't we have a good image with these folks from the West? Bello, I assure you that Nigerian universities are winning grants. I can assure you. I know it for a fact that they are winning grant funding. Right? A lecturer from Unilag once won a massive grant from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation some months ago. I read it in the news. I read it myself. So, Bello, schools in Nigeria, especially universities, are winning grant funding. Yes, they are winning grant funding. I finished from OAU, and I can remember at least 1 or 2 projects that were funded by grants while I was in the school, right? While I was in the school. So they are winning grant funding. I think the case you can make below is that the grants are not equally distributed, that some schools are getting money, some schools, and I agree. And that is a function of multiple factors, right? And it could also be a function of the people that are writing, the quality of the proposals that they are submitting, right? So Bello, I think we can disagree to agree on this matter. Okay. Okay. American Center Lagos has shared the link. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, American Center Lagos. Thank you so much for sharing. Franklin Adebayo, if there are so many seasoned and established NGOs competing for projects, how do you believe a new NGO can stand up and win one? So Franklin, for a new NGO, essentially, you have to build your track record. The key word is traction. You have to build traction. As a new NGO, the first step should not be looking for grant funding. That's a misplaced priority. The first step should be to build your traction by doing projects. Yes, even if it's just one project, do a project that addresses a need and that has beneficiaries whose lives have been changed. Let me give an example. So let's say, for example, you do a project that is, I want to look for a simple project, for example. Let's say you do free medical care for a particular community, right? Maybe those guys, they don't have funds to afford surgery and all of that. You organize a free medical outreach. You're able to convince surgeons to join you. And you're able to do maybe 10 successful surgeries. And probably 5 beneficiaries are completely cured of cataract. And those 5 beneficiaries, you're able to get them on camera, you do a testimonial video, or probably you get their written statements, and those claims can be verified. Now, all of a sudden, you have a very strong story to tell, right? You have proof that what you're doing works. And at that point where you have significant traction, you can now start, applying for grant funding, because this is it. Funders don't like to fund people that have not done anything, because the best proof of what a man can do is what he has done. That's the best proof, right? So don't tell me that you have ideas and you can change the world. No. First of all, let me see the little that you've done. And this is called a pilot. When you do a project on a small scale, it doesn't even matter. Your beneficiaries might just be 5 or 10, but at least show that what you're doing, can work. And then when you have a solid pilot, you can then, take that, blow that up, and start applying for grant opportunities. So, Franklin, I hope that helped. Omolola, we help the winners get scholarship. We don't want to give them on a platter. Thereby, the green competition is a process for them to qualify. So, Omolola, I think what you need to do is you need to rethink the entire process of that green competition. You need to rethink it, right? Because funders are usually interested in a pressing problem, and then you bringing the solution to match. That's how funders think. Funders think problem, solution, problem, solution. So if you're selling a cooking competition, you probably want to sell it to maybe like Maggi or all of these cooking companies, right? Probably their CSR. Those ones will probably get it. But a regular funder, a typical funder will probably not see the value in a cooking contest, right? Except you're able to tie it to a pressing problem, right? And say, this is the problem, this is how we're solving it. So, I think you need to work on your messaging. You need to work on your messaging. I hope that helped. Linian, Nigerian universities are winning. Linian, thank you. Nigerian schools are winning grants. Yes, they are winning grants. Shegun, yes, it's just that these schools don't allow it. Then how many of them will come out and say they just want $100 million naira in grants? They will not allow it. My institution has almost $20 million on capital. Linian, so what's the name of your school? It looks like is that the school that we should all be attending? What's the name of the school? You can share, of course. You can share. Okay, Abdul is sharing something here. Just shared something. The problem of cyber attack vulnerability among corporate organizations. Where can I get funding for it? So, Abdul, the question is: do you have expertise in this area? And what is the proposed intervention? Because you're telling us about the problem, but what is your proposed intervention? Right? You cannot get grant funding for a problem, right? But if you have an intervention that is exciting and you have experience in that area, then there's an opportunity. Osman is saying, I'm the founder of Africa Youth Success Foundation in Ghana. We provide leadership empowerment, sensitization, and providing important staff to students. How can I get individual grants? Osman, you can indeed get an individual grant. However, let me put the disclaimer. Individual grants are very rare to come by. They are very, very rare. However, there's one particular individual grant that I came across earlier in the week. I am going to try to, just a minute, I'm going to try to look for that grant now. It's on my Facebook wall. So right now I'm heading to Facebook. Don't worry, not to click away or scroll away, but just look at that opportunity. I'm going to share it shortly. It's an individual grant and it's very, very rare. Individual grants are very, very rare. Sorry, just a minute. Yes, I found the grants. I have found the grants. I have found it. I'm going to share it in the comment section now. And I'm going to share the link also. Right? Sharing the link. I can close Facebook now. So I can face my book. Okay, yes. So why am I sharing this opportunity and why am I so excited to share it? It's because individual grants are very, very rare. They are very, very rare. So please, as an individual, that is one grant opportunity that you can absolutely apply for, right? So just in case you're wondering, oh, can I apply for this grant and all? Please, by all means, go for it. Go for it, by all means. I'm taking our comments now. So Osman, I hope that helped, right? I hope that helped. However, Osman, I would advise that you register your organization so that you can win. There are more grants opportunities open to NGOs, even more than businesses, right? So Osman, my advice to you is that you register your organization, make sure that you have a corporate bank account, right? Make sure that you keep your financials in order because those are basic things that are usually required. In Rotary, many grants have been won. I agree. In like some, Kudirat, yes, Rotary. I know you guys are doing incredible work. Lillian is saying it's the quality of the research that makes the grants unacceptable, right? Lillian, that's a fair point, even though there are multiple factors, but definitely the quality of the research proposal, yeah. Abubakar, I have an idea that fit to BMGF. What is BMGF? But I'm finding it difficult to write on how it will sell. I need an accurate guide, please. Abubakar, we're going to get there very soon. Lillian, what you wish to do, ask me visible, especially if you're new in the field. Lillian, thank you so much. Wow, Lillian is on fire today. Fire, right? CTYN coaching, yes. The best proof of what a man can do is what a man has done. Yes. So just in case there's somebody here who is new to the NGO field, first go and do a pilot, right? First go and do a pilot. Don't start jumping up and down looking for grant funding. Go and do a pilot. Show us your work first. Okay, Bill is also talking about institution winning grants. Uyo window. Uyo is doing well. Okay. Booking. If an NGO has done and is doing projects, then why doesn't such qualify for grants? For instance, I got to know about this program to an NGO, EAT Foundation, and they keep doing programs to empower people. So what can such NGO do? Booking, we're going to talk more about this, but let me just give you an example of some of the things that funders look out for. And I'm going to share this with us because I feel like this will help us. Sorry, just a minute. So one key thing is that as an NGO, you should be registered. You should be registered with the government. You should have CAC registration if you're in Nigeria. If you're outside Nigeria, be registered. Why? Because when you're registered, you can then open a bank account. Right? Funders will not send money to your individual accounts. Like I said earlier, individual accounts are very, very rare. So, because some NGOs, you still run the NGO with your personal account. You're not serious. You are not ready for grant funding now. If you are mixing personal money with NGO money, you're not serious, right? So, you should have a bank account for the NGO. Number 3 is you should keep accurate financial records, right? Because a lot of grants require you to submit your financial statement. Sometimes we even ask for audited financial statements. So, make sure you keep financial records. Now, when I say financial records, I don't mean paper and pencil, right? Use a cloud-based solution. Even if you must use paper and pencil, use it in addition to paper and pencil, right? It should be a combo. Why? Because when you use digital records, it's easier for you to export your financial records. It's easier. There was one grant that we applied for. We won that grant. And it was a Google grant, Africa Online Safety Fund. That's the name of the grant, in case you are interested. Africa Online Safety Fund. And I remember that when we were applying, I just went to Wave. I exported our financials and I attacked it. Finish. Within 3 minutes. Imagine that if our financials had been on paper and pencil, it would have been much more difficult to do that, right? So the financial records. Another thing is about having an office. Some funders are really just sold on this office thing, right? Yes, it's 2022, people are working remotely, but a lot of funders want to know that you have an actual physical office. Now, there's a way to go around this. If you don't have an office and you are working from home, What you can do is you can turn your sitting room to your office. You can literally do that. Funders just want to know that you have an address and you're not a ghost, right? So it's okay. If you don't have money to maybe rent one office, turn your sitting room or your room, turn it into that office, right? Just make sure that it's something that people can, because if the funder says they want to inspect, you know it's that address they will come to, right? So I think those are some things that can help you attract ground funding. Also, the quality of the idea is really very key. The quality of the idea, but we're going to talk more about that subsequently. So don't worry. Just, you know, we got you. We're together. We're going to talk more about this. Franklin Adebayo is saying, can I hire a grant writer elsewhere? Yes, that's an option, right? You can hire a grant writer. That's an option, right? I know that it's possible to hire grant writers from maybe freelancing platforms, right? And Grandmaster, of course, that's what we do like all day, every day. So it's possible. Now, the question is, should I hire a grant writer or should I not? It really depends. It depends on the stage of the NGO. If as a small NGO, you're struggling to generate revenue, I don't think that hiring a grant writer should be like your priority. Your priority should be to first maybe boost your capacity so that you are not applying for a grant with money that you borrowed from a microfinance bank, right? That's going from 5 pounds to 5. So I hope that helped, frankly, right? You have Grandmaster, and then there's some freelancing platforms that also have grant writers. So Lillian, National Open University, there are institutions working with various research that, okay. However, many people don't do the requisite research to win the grants. It's academic research based, though, not for NGOs. Lillian, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Okay. Your window. On a personal level, I donate past secondary school girls in my village annually. So your window, thank you for sharing. Essentially, what you want to do is you want to move that project, you want to move it from an annual thing to something that is recurrent, right? Maybe like once a quarter, right? I put some structure around it because funders are also very skeptical about just backing annual projects, right? Just something that happens. Funders want to back projects that will continue into the future, right? Because if they fund you and the project stops, their investment has gone down the drain. Funders don't like that. They want to back people that will continue the project after that initial funding, right? So, your window, I hope that helped. The person that dropped the comment from your window. Osman, I'm live from Ghana, from Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Okay, Osman, thank you so much for sharing. Treasure, does it have to be an NGO to win a grant? Treasure, there are grants for individuals, but like I said earlier, they are very, very rare. Before you see one grant that is for an individual, you would have seen like 100 for NGOs or for businesses. Usman, can I get a WhatsApp line? Okay, I think Usman, we'll get there. We'll get there. Don't worry. I got you, Usman. We're together. Usman, I got you. Okay, Abubakar. Yes, because they're okay. Let's talk about an NGO that saw a grant opportunity. I really want to apply. We have proven ideas. Abubakar, thank you for sharing. American Center Library. My name is Ruben. My question is on youth empowerment. From close observation in Nigeria, young people don't want to learn vocational skills such as masonry, carpentry, plumbing, and so we no longer have, I'm putting that, youth with vocational skills working in building construction sites. What we have is youth from Benin Republic, Togo, Ghana. Can I get a grant to build a vocational center in Lagos where youth will come for training and be paid during training, as money is the motivating factor to keep them in the training program completed? So, Ruben, the problem that you've noticed, right, you have to do a needs assessment to be sure that this is indeed the problem. I don't want to assume that what you have said is the exact problem, right? Because I know that, think about it, if you come at it from the angle of building collapse, I think you might have like maybe a better chance, right? I'm not saying, just giving you random ideas from my head, right? Because think about this, especially in a place like Lagos, buildings are always collapsing left, right, and center. So if you anchor your intervention around the fact that buildings are collapsing, why are they collapsing? Substandard building equipment, unqualified builders, right? And then you don't wrap that around the intervention, which is you now want to design an intervention that will train people in the industry, train aspiring builders and current builders, to become better craftsmen, right? So as to reduce the rate of sorry for the noise. My office is very close to a main road, so apologies for the noise. So as to probably reduce the rate of building collapse in Nigeria. Now that sounds very, very exciting, right? You're introducing urgency into it. So I hope that helps, right? But think about it from the aspect of problem solution, and it has to be a pressing problem, not an imagined or assumed problem.
Okay, TTYN coaching. I would like to say my NGO wasn't registered and I've been working for a year. And recently, a man in my estate gave me 200K to get registered so I can get more funds for projects. He believes in me because I've been working even without grant support. Positioning is also important. Fantastic, right? I like TTYN coaching. Fantastic. Now, that is another option for you where you can, get funds from family and friends and from people who believe in you, right? And I really like this example. When people see you doing the work, instead of you talking about doing the work, right, they are very likely to support you. So this is also key. It's not just about getting grant funding from funders, right? Your funders may be in your family. They may even be your friends. They may be people who know you where you are living. So just keep doing the work, right? Keep doing the work. Keep making yourself visible. I agree with CYN. Thank you for sharing. Okay, Adebi, I'm enjoying every bit of the story and grants and things so far. Adebi, thank you. Thank you so much. American Center Lagos. Use Nigeria as a keyword. American Center Lagos. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much. This is grants.gov. Thank you so much. American Center, American Corner Port Harcourt. Thank you for this interpretation. You are welcome. Oshobo window. How can a new NGO get an accredited account? As a new NGO, go and register. Register with CAC if you're in Nigeria. I know some people are from outside Nigeria and you're joining this call. Register with the government. I don't know the name of the registration agency in Ghana, but in Nigeria is the CAC. Register. Once you register with the government, you cannot take that registration certificate and open a bank account with a bank, right? And so, Oshobo window, I hope that helped. Why are proposals of new NGOs who have implemented self-funding projects ignored? Oshobo, I think it's also about program design, right? It's about program design. Remember what I said about interventions, right? The intervention must match the problem. The intervention must match. Let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, you notice that in your community, kids are dropping out of school, right? Or maybe you notice that female students are getting pregnant. And you then say that the way you want to solve that intervention is that you want to increase the number of teachers in the school. I'm not sure that's the right approach, right? I'm not sure that's the right approach because if female students are getting pregnant in the school, and you're saying it's because they don't have more teachers, are you absolutely sure that that's the reason why they're getting pregnant? Are you saying that's the reason why? So sometimes you have a problem-solution mismatch where the solution you're bringing is not directly addressing the problem. That's one thing. Another issue is that sometimes it's probably just that the proposal is poorly written, right? The quality of the proposal is just not top notch, right? See, grants are extremely competitive. Let me give an example. After Online Safety Fund, I mentioned earlier that we won it last year. And I remember that, I don't know the number of people that applied for stage 1, but I remember that during stage 2, over 500 people made it to stage 2. Ladies and gentlemen, guess how many people won that grant? 25. 25 out of over 500, right? Bank Innovation Grants, thousands of people apply from around the world. How many did they pick? 10. So grants are extremely competitive. So sometimes it's just because the proposal is just not good enough, right? But it could be due to multiple reasons. So Oshobo window, I hope that helped. Ademola is asking, my question is, how would you keep financial records if most of your funds keep coming out of your pocket? You need to use a software-based solution. You can use softwares like Zoho Accounting, like Wave, Stage Accounting. I know that there are some Nigerian versions, even though they are mostly tailored to businesses, but I'm not sure they can work for NGOs. But I know that there's Bumper, there's Keeper, right? Now, even if the funds are coming out of pockets, what you can do is that write it inside those online softwares. They usually have a notes section. So write it there. Write it there that this fund came out from, this fund was lent. It's possible you can lend the NGO money so that in the near future, when the NGO has some fund, the NGO can refund you as a founder. It's possible. And that's very legal. That's very legitimate, right? It's possible. The funds are coming out of pocket, but you're not giving the NGO totally because it's possible that maybe you don't have a lot of money and you're just struggling to even afford it. So it's possible you can record it as a loan to the NGO, right? As long as you have bank records, to back it up, and you have financial records, you have accurate records, it's possible. You can do it. Please. Nowadays, academic staff work with NGOs to carry out research and development projects when grants is wrong. I was consulted as a development consultant for one of such projects by a professor and former vice chancellor. Please, wow, fantastic. That's beautiful. Oshobo window. Why is annual financial reports an hindrance to new NGO? So Oshobo window, remember what I said, right? As a new NGO, go and do a pilot. go and do a pilot, right? So that you can have a report. You cannot have a financial report if you don't have expenses, you don't have inflow, even if you don't have inflow, at least you have maybe expenses or things you've done, even if it's in kind, right? So for a new NGO, go and do a pilot, go and do something first. Veronica, can somebody get grants in a fee-paying facility like rehabilitation homes? Yes, Veronica, there are grants for businesses. Chioma, can you give us the accounting app you just mentioned? Okay, I'm going to type their names. There's Keeper, there's Bumper. Sorry, I made a mistake with that. There's Bumper, Keeper, Bumper. Those are the Nigerian ones. Let me see if I can delete this. Okay, sorry. Then there's Sage Accounting. There is Zoe Accounting. Wave Accounting, they used to offer it in Nigeria, but now it's mostly for US and Canada, except for people that opened the account long ago. So the reason why Grandmaster is able to use Wave is because we're using it before started their new policy, right? So just Google all these guys. I'm sure you'll be able to find one that works for you. So yes, I've shared the names. I've typed them out. What is your Facebook and Instagram account? Someone is asking. Aisha is asking. Okay, Aisha, I'm going to share that for people who want to follow me on social media, and I share the opportunities in lots. So I have shared that in case you want to follow me. I've shared that. Is there any other question? How do you keep on going as an NGO, especially when you just started talking of funds and other materials to help? Osman, I don't particularly understand the question. Maybe you can rephrase the question, Osman. Okay, I think what will help us is instead of just sharing the names of the apps, don't worry, I'll just share their website. I'll share their website. I think that will help you. Bumper is getbumper.com. Keeper, and by all, please, these guys are not, all of these people are not paying me for the adverts. Please. So don't think of maybe Benga is getting a commission or American Spaces or American Center is getting a commission. No, it's because these are solutions that Nigerians are using, right? And even Africans. These guys are Pan-African now. Keeper, I'm going to share Bumper too. It's Get Bumper, but I'm going to share the website. That just saves you the stress of looking for what is not lost. It makes your journey easier. Get Bumper, Sage Accounting. Yes, I've shared for Sage. Yes, so I've shared that. Is it right to transfer funds from my personal account to my NGO account for projects? In that case, it means that you're the funder. You are funding, you're the funder. You are funding your NGO. Yes, I mentioned this earlier, right? If you are lending the NGO money, then let it be documented that it's a loan, right? That is not a grant to your own NGO. Ademola, I've been running and funding my NGO for the past 5 years. The NGO is fully registered, but I've never applied for any grants because I don't even know how to go about it. Ademola, hopefully by the end of this session, you have some more clarity. So guys, I'm going to pause on the questions so that we can take some more. We can continue we can continue talking about some of the things we prepared for you. Don't worry, we'll come back to questions. Don't worry. We still have like 45 minutes to go on this call. So don't worry, we will indeed attend to more questions. But for now, let's quickly go back to the slides and share some more. Okay. All right. So before you guys bombarded the chat section with questions, we were talking about private and public sector funding. And so let's move on from there. Now, there is something called the proposal development team. For organizations that are grant writers, essentially what they're doing is that they are outsourcing like the proposal writing part. That's what they're doing. When you are a grant writer, what you're doing is you are outsourcing the proposal writing part. So the proposal development team essentially is who are the people that are responsible for the grant writing, right? Who are the people that are responsible for it? So, like I said earlier, it's possible that you decide that you want to outsource this, right? And you know the funny thing, People think that the people that hire grant writers are only maybe people who have not won a grant before, and so because they want to win, they hire a grant writer. That's not true. That's not true. I can assure you that some of our clients at Grandmaster have won grants before. Plenty grants, in fact. And the reason they're coming back is because they don't want to deal with the stress, with time, because technical grants take a lot of time to write. So I think, like, for you, you need to make a decision based on the stage of your NGO, based on your pocket, right, to decide whether you want to outsource or you want to write it internally, right? So that's a decision you have to make. It's on a case-by-case basis. Now, if you want to put together a proposal development team, who are the people that should be on your team? Board of directors. If you have an NGO here, especially if your NGO has been existing for about 1 year and you've done projects, I think you should consider having an advisory board, right? Now, who are the people that you should bring on board in advisory capacity? There are people that have influence in society. There are people that possibly have money so that they can also fund the NGO if need be. And then there should be people who can also make introductions for you, right? So it still goes back to point number one about influence, right? So it's important that you have an advisory board of maybe it can just be 2 or 3 or 4. Don't have too many people, because if you have an advisory board, managing all of them is also work, right? It's a lot of work, right? It helps if you have an advisory board, because then you have people who you can also be accountable to, because sometimes, especially for NGOs, you are the managing director, you are the founder, you are the executive director, and you're not answerable to anybody. But when you have an advisory board, at least you have people who are more experienced than you, people who you can listen to, people who you can pick their brains. And so that helps. So when you have an advisory board, a member of that team can also help you provide technical input, right? You should also have a finance manager. Now, I know that some of you are thinking, how many are we in the NGO? Can we afford this? The way around this is, you can have volunteers. Maybe you have an ICANN chartered accountant, for example, who is volunteering as part of your organization. They do the work part-time, right? You cannot afford to pay them a salary, but you can afford to, you can pitch to them and say, oh, can you please volunteer with us, right? So it's possible that you're able to convince an ICANN chartered accountant to volunteer with your organization and be your finance manager. Very possible, right? So it's not everything that you need money for. If you cannot afford to hire an accountant, maybe you can consider getting a volunteer, right? Also, project staff members, especially for NGOs that you already have full-time staff, right? They should, especially when you're working on the budget. Budgeting is a team sport. It's not something that one person will just come up with a budget. No, budgeting is a team sport, so you can consult them, right? Also, the management. Even if you as a founder, you may not be the one directly leading the project, but you have to be involved, because a lot of the documentation and all of that will bear your name, right? Aside from the name of the organization, right? So the management should be involved. Also, in the proposal development team, it's important to have a project manager. Now, the project manager is the key man or woman, the key person that is the point person for funders. That is the one person whose full-time job is that project. Let me give you an example. So we are executing that project. You remember I mentioned the Africa Online Safety Fund, the grant that we won. We are executing that project right now. And we have a project manager. That project manager, that is the person whose full-time job is that project. That's our full-time job, right? Part of our role includes, getting schools on board, getting teachers on board, making sure that the project is moving along. The app, we just launched the app on Apple Play Store early this month, right? And I got a message from project manager saying, oh, hey, we're finally on our Apple Play Store, because we've been on Google Play Store for a long time. The project involves mobile app, right? There's a component for that. So imagine how slowly you will have moved without a project manager. In fact, the truth is that for the first 3 months of the project, we did not have a dedicated project manager. We were just assigning people to the organization. And we were moving very slowly until we assigned a project manager, and the speed, right? We started moving. So I can assure you that having a project manager is a very good investment, right? Very good investment, because the project will move faster. And then also admin staff, right? If you have things like maybe you want to print things, somebody's go here, that's the work of admin staff. So when you're able to have people here, maybe full-time staff or volunteers who are working with you in these different capacities, then you have a proposal development team. I can see that the chat box is buzzing. Don't worry, I'm going to take your questions later. I'll take those questions. Now, let's talk about writing the proposal itself, right? What is the objective here? The objective is for you to understand how to write a successful grant proposal. Okay, so
Before I take the questions here, I think I just want us to move a little bit further in the class. I think we're still on track. So let's go. Now, in writing the proposal, there are three key things that I want you to know. The first is using clear and simple language. Now, there is this famous politician in Nigeria. His name is Honorable Patrick Obiano. Honorable Patrick is famous for, how many of you guys know Honorable Patrick? For Nigerians on this call, at least you guys should know Honorable Patrick. How many of you know Honorable Patrick? I know Honorable Patrick. Please say yes. Type yes in the comment box. Type yes, I know Honorable Patrick. Oh, that's everyone who knows Honorable Patrick Obiano. So it used to be an honorable from, he used to represent, I think he's from Edo State, yeah. Edo State, yes. Edo man, frankly, yes. And Honorable Patrick was famous for using very big grammar, right? So let me use Nigerian English, blowing grammar. I need to blow grammar over, I'm using Nigerian English now. Honorable Patrick, instead of just saying something very simple, you will hear something like Kinkum Krankum, Igiada, right? If Honorable Patrick wants to say maybe maybe, how would you say when maybe there's, no, not discomfort, maybe there's trouble in it. Instead of just saying trouble, Honorable Patrick will say Igiada, right? I want to try to remember some of his famous grammar. Publish it not in GATS, something, let me see. I wish I could show you some videos of Honorable Patrick. In short, Honorable Patrick is the kind of person that after you are spoken for 5 minutes, you would need a dictionary, Merriam-Webster dictionary, to literally understand what he's saying, right? Now, if you do like Honorable Patrick, and you write the proposal that way, ladies and gentlemen, you will not win that grant. I can assure you, you won't win it. Do you know why? Because if the reviewer has to consult Merriam-Webster dictionary every 5 minutes because of your proposal, the reviewer will need your proposal now. Use simple language. Use simple language. Now, I understand that sometimes you're writing very technical proposals, and maybe you want to use like phrases that can be understood by experts. As long as the proposal is indeed technical, and you are sure that reviewers will understand what you're saying, then it's okay, right? But if you ask me, like, what's my bias? My bias is mostly to go on the simple side. And that's our philosophy, literally. Like, we write very simple, very so simple that even my grammar can read it and understand it, right? So simple, right? Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it so simple that anybody, whether technical or not technical, can understand your grammar proposal. Because if you make it too technical, then you are making life difficult for the people who are going to review your proposals. So that's it. Step number 1 is make sure that you use clear, simple language. Stop blowing big grammar all over the place, right? Point number 2 is preparing a letter of inquiry. Now, for some funders, they would ask you for a letter of inquiry. Sometimes it's called a letter of intent. So just in case you see letter of intent, you're like, oh, but I didn't teach us. No, it's the same thing. Letter of inquiry or letter of intent. That is a letter where you are trying to tell the funder that you are interested in submitting a full group proposal, and you're giving them a very high level summary of what you intend to do, right? So a lot of funders would ask you to submit a letter of inquiry, right? They would ask, and they will respond to you to say, oh, we are willing to fund you, or we're not looking in your direction. So sometimes funders don't want to deal with reviewing 1,000 proposals. So they would rather say, okay, submit a letter of inquiry or submit a letter of intent. It looks like a letter. The only difference is that the content is, first paragraph, you're introducing yourself and organization. Second paragraph, you're talking about the problem and the solution, right? Probably that's also second or third paragraph. The fourth paragraph is you're linking up your proposed project with what the funder are stated on their websites, right? And then the last paragraph is you telling them that you're looking forward to hearing from them, right? So a letter of inquiry is more like a letter, right? Nothing special, just that you are telling them that you wish to indeed get funding from them, and you're giving them a high level summary of what you intend to do. So that's a letter of inquiry. Okay, Kudirat is sharing some of those big grammar. Krinkum Krankum. Now, the third point here is the logical structure, right? How you present your ideas. There has to be a logical structure. It should flow logically, right? So
let's say, for example, you're writing a grant proposal, and your intervention is based on, let me see, we've used solar, so I don't want to use solar again. We've used, let's use health. So let's say you want to design a health-focused intervention. And what is this health-focused intervention? You want to conduct advocacy, right? Around smoking. You know, this advert of smokers are liable to die. So you want to design an advocacy that will discourage young people from smoking, right? That's the intervention. Now, when you're writing that proposal, the way you introduce your points. So let's say, for instance, there's always a question that you have to answer in every grant proposal. That is, what is the problem that you're solving, right? So let's say you're answering that problem. What is the problem that you're solving, or what is the problem that this that your organization is solving? The way you introduce the problem has to be very deliberate. You can introduce the problem by using either a fact, analogy, a quote, or a story. And I'm going to give you examples. I'm going to give you examples across all three. In fact, across all four. In fact, let me stop sharing for 1 minute now, because I want to spend time on this logical structure. Because some of you are like, oh, how can I write grant funding? How can I write grant funding? I have the formula for you. The formula is FAQs. F is facts. I'm typing it in the chat box in case you're wondering what is Benga saying. Don't worry, check the chat box. Facts. A is analogies. Q is quotes. S is stories. When you are writing a grant proposal, your points should flow logically. And when you want to start it, right, you should start or end with, either a fact, analogies, quotes, or stories. For example, let me give you an example. So if I want to start with facts, and I want to talk about maybe smoking. Don't forget the project. We want to do an intervention, public awareness around discouraging young people from smoking, right? So let me look for the statistics on smoking. Statistics, I'm Googling right now, on health hazards of smoking. Wow. Did you know that smoking causes 90% of all lung cancer deaths? My goodness. I did not know this. Smoking causes 90% of all lung cancer deaths. So imagine, for instance, that I'm writing that proposal, right? And then I start with this, right? According to a 2020 WHO report, smoking is responsible for 90% of all lung cancer deaths. Now I have the attention of the reviewer. All of a sudden, I have the attention, right? So facts are key. Smokers are liable to die young, right? Now, in order for you to use that sentence, this is a slogan, right? Smokers are liable to die young. You need to be able to back it up with evidence, right? So you can now look for maybe statistics from WHO, right? That corroborates what you're saying. You can't just make sweeping statements when you're writing a proposal, right? You need to be able to back it up. A proposal is like a blend of an academic research and creative writing. So everybody look at my hands. Focus, look at my hands. Think about grant writing as something that is in the middle between academic writing or academic research writing and creative writing. Grant writing is in the middle because you need to use evidence-based writing like the academic writers do, but you also need to be able to tell stories like the creative writers do. So you need to put it in the middle. So I hope you're all following. Right? I want to be sure that you're getting something, you're learning something from this fast, because I want to use FAQs as I want to give you an example, right? Across everybody, every single point. So are you guys learning? Is everybody learning? I want to see yes, if you're learning. I want to be sure that, because this is very key. If this is the only thing you learned from this session, honestly, you have picked something. If FAQs is the only thing you pick from today's session, you have learned a lot. Because I want to give you examples across all. So that's facts, right? You look for relevant statistics that back up the argument you want to make. That's fact. Now, don't forget that we're using the intervention. You want to design an intervention that is around discouraging young people from taking up smoking as a habit. Now, analogies. What is an analogy? An analogy is a comparison of one thing with another thing. It's comparison. You use analogies to provide context, right? To provide context. So analogies are very useful because sometimes the people that are reviewing your grant proposals are not Nigerians, they are not Ghanaians, they're not people in your country. They don't understand, right? It's just like when you tell an American that there's power failure, or there's a blackout,
or NEPA is taking light. And everyone is like, what does that mean? What is NEPA? They don't know. So you need to use an analogy to explain it, right? Right. So let me give you an example of an analogy. Imagine, I want to give you a sentence. Imagine that you wake up and you turn on the light bulb and the light does not come on. And you wait for 5 minutes thinking it's an emergency, thinking there's a light out. You wait for another 10 minutes, and 10 hours later, you are left in pitch dark darkness. That is the reality in mentioning of a community in Nigeria, where we only have 3 hours of power supply. Millions of Nigerians do not have access to power supply today, and another 3 million are not even connected to the grid. This is why we at XYZ Foundation are working very hard to tackle the problem of energy poverty in Nigeria. Please, are you following me? Can you see what I just did there with analogies? I hope you are following me. Can you see the analogy that I use now? Right? Because if the person who is reviewing it is an American or somebody from Canada and all that, they don't know power outages, right? Some of these guys have never seen a generator before in their life. So if you're telling somebody that in Nigeria, we now put on a generator, the reviewer is thinking, what is a generator? So you need to use analogies to provide context, right? So that is the power of analogies, right? You use analogies to provide context, right? So just think about how can you explain this idea in your head? How can you make it relevant or relatable to someone who is probably not from your culture or not from your country? That's the power of analogies. Now let's move on to quotes. Quotes, key for quotes. Now, imagine, for instance, that we're talking about that intervention around educating young, discouraging them from taking up smoking, right? And let's say, for instance, that we make an argument that we notice that this behavior is rampant among uneducated young people, right? I can then introduce a quote and say, Nelson Mandela once said, and I quote, that education is the most powerful weapon with which you can change the world, right? Or maybe you use a quote by Lao Tzu, right? Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. You need to look for quotes that are relevant to the argument you are trying to make. You need to look for quotes, right? Whether or not you are applying for a grant, you need to have a bank of quotes that support your work as an NGO. Very important. Imagine, for instance, that you're writing a proposal around leadership, right? You can quote John C. Maxwell, everything rises and falls on leadership, right? If you're writing a proposal around productivity, right? You can quote Abraham Lincoln. If I had 6 hours to chop a tree, I'll spend the first 5 hours sharpening my axe, right? So you need to look for quotes. You need to look for quotes that support the work that you're doing, right? I would like, if it's possible, to drop your own favorite quote. One of the quotes that I like to use a lot is a quote by this Peter Drucker. Is a management consultant, Peter Drucker. He said, and I quote, "You cannot manage what you cannot measure." Right? So that's the power of quotes. Now, let me move on to S, which is stories. Stories are very key to writing a persuasive, powerful proposal. Stories are key. Why are stories key? Because essentially, transportation leads to persuasion. Oh, somebody missed that. Let me repeat. Transportation leads to persuasion. If you want to persuade people, you need to transport them from where they are to where you want them to be. And the best tool for that is a story. Facts tell, but stories sell. Let me take that again. Facts tell, but stories sell. Stories give you an opportunity to use case studies, right? So let's go back to our intervention, right? We're designing an intervention that is geared towards discouraging young people from taking up smoking, right? So if I want to use a story, for instance, I can tell you the story of my favorite, a friend of my brother when I was growing up, right? So let's just imaginary friend. Let's call this particular person. Let's call him George. George was a brilliant student. Right? I remember when I was growing up, I just 5 years of age. I remember George would come to our home, tell us stories, share biscuit with us. And I remember that my brother always told us that George was, in fact, the brightest person in their class. Never mind that he made my brother look awkward, but he respected George so much, his friend, and George truly was brilliant. He taught us how to read. He encouraged us to learn. Imagine my surprise that 2 years later, we heard that George had died. George did not die in a car accident. George did not die because of high blood pressure. George did not die because of obesity. George died because he had one bad habit that everybody around him had been telling him to let go of. Lung cancer. That killed George. This is why, so you then continue from the story. This is why George's death inspired me to start Inside Movie Foundation, right? And this is why we are on the mission to rescue more people like George across Nigerian campuses to ensure that we reduce the number of young people who lose to lung cancer to the barest minimum. That was the story I just fabricated from anywhere, right? So essentially, you need to look for stories now, of course, actual stories, right? Or it's even possible that it's a story that maybe you see in the newspaper, right? Or maybe a case study of someone who went through your program or something like that. Case studies are really very key. Let me give you another case study. Unemployment is rampant in Nigeria. Youth unemployment is really crazy. Unemployment in Nigeria is about 33.3%. So let me tell you a quick story. There's this guy, his name is Geoffrey. He attended, this is an e-power story. He attended a training, a digital skills training several years ago. And when Geoffrey joined this training, he was concerned about his prospects of getting a job because as at that time he had family members at home, his own siblings that graduated 3 years before him and still were unable to get a job. Geoffrey attended the digital skills training, acquired the skills training, learned how to pack the CV. Ladies and gentlemen, barely 4 months after graduation, Geoffrey got a job at, wait for it, Jobberman. He got a job at Jobberman. And now Geoffrey is a breadwinner of his family, right? So, is there any better story to show that whatever it is that the company is doing is working? That's it. Stories, right? So, whenever you do interventions, collect stories, right? Get case studies. Because they can be very useful. They will help you to make very powerful, persuasive arguments in your proposal writing. Okay, Max is saying beautiful story. Victor, this is explosive. Bookie, must it be a combination of all FAQs when writing a grant proposal? Okay, I want to say the word or two, taking into consideration that not all founders are that patient to read long proposals. So, Bookie, typically what happens is that, you use them based on the need. So in the problem statement, it might just be facts that you use. When you are talking about how to solve the problem, you can then use a story, right? When you are talking about maybe like how the project will be implemented, you can introduce the quote, right? So it's very unlikely that while you answer one question, you use FAQs. It's very, very unlikely. It's very unlikely. And most maybe you use two, right? Maybe you used to probably use the facts, you use a story. Right, but it's very unlikely that you combine all four. Very, very unlikely. So, Bookie, I hope that helped. I hope that helped. Right. So let me go back to the question. I want to be sure. How many of you guys are learning something? Right. I'm learning something. Right. How many of you guys are learning something? I want you to go to the chat section right now and drop your feedback. Right. I'm learning. Let me see the people who are learning. And Osman, you're raising up your hand. Osman, do you want to ask a question? Okay, don't worry. Before I take your questions, we have about 21 minutes to go. Before I take your questions, I will just share class interaction. Okay, Michelle is learning, Shama is learning, Veruca is learning, Kurat is learning. Oh, wow, this is good. This is really, really good. Okay, so let's go back to the slides for a minute. And so I talked about logical structure, which is why I mentioned the FAQs, and I hope that helps you. So class interaction. What aspect of writing a grant proposal do you struggle with? And do you have any question or concern on the 3 points raised so far? So I think we're going to spend the next 20 minutes on Q&A, right? I think it's a good place to end for today, right? But like I promised, I want to take all of your questions. So if you've asked a question previously that I didn't answer, you can re-ask, you can introduce the question again so that I will not scroll up. Right, but I'm going to take as many questions as possible in the next 20 minutes. So, by all means, is there any aspect of writing a grant proposal that you struggle with so that we can discuss it? Or is there a particular question or concern you have on the 3 points raised so far, where we talk about using
clear, simple language. We talked about writing a letter of inquiry. We talked about logical structure. We introduced FAQs. So, questions down, questions over to you. Please, questions. Michelle is asking how to get your slide. American Spaces Nigeria, please, you have to repeat this. I don't know if American Spaces read the slides available.
All right, we can answer that question. If you are not properly registered, you will not have access to it. So please go on the American Spaces Facebook page. I'll be able to register with a link there. I'll put the link to the American Spaces Nigeria Facebook page there. Please, all announcements, all recordings of our programs are also found there. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Your window budgeting is where I struggle with. So now let me attempt to share a little bit about budgeting. The thing about budgeting is, first of all, you need to understand that the reviewers know the price of things. Let me explain what I mean. So sometimes when NGOs apply for grant funding, they just put like ridiculous figures. Let's say, for instance, you want to buy a computer, or you want to buy, no, let's not use computer. Let's say you want to buy, let me see, what can we use for our intervention? Okay, you want to buy airtime as media, you want to buy time, slots to advertise on radio. We don't put a ridiculous amount like 500,000 for one slot. Because we're assuming that the reviewer is maybe American and does not know the price. Do you know what? A lot of times, foreign reviewers have local people working in their team to review together, right? So if you just assume that you can bamboozle a foreign reviewer, it's also, and a lot of times, a lot of the things that you quote on your budget are things that you can just check the price on Amazon or Jumia. And so, the first thing you want to know about budgeting is that you need to, as much as possible, quote the right amount of money, right? Quote the market price. Don't quote an outrageous price, because that you are giving the reviewer grounds to be disqualified. That's number one. Number two is budgeting is a team sport. Work with members of the team, right? Discuss those budget items. Number three is this: don't put any item on your budget that you cannot explain. If there's an item on your budget that you cannot explain, or you don't know why it's important, or you are struggling to defend why it's important, remove it from your budget. Remove it, right? Remove it from your budget. Number four is that a budget has two parts, right? There's the budget narrative itself, and there's the justification for the budget, right? You need to make sure that your all the items are well justified, that you provide an explanation as to why you need that item. Let me give you an example. For instance, in the project, it's possible that you need a venue, right, for maybe an interaction. It's very possible that you need a venue. Now, the question is, are you sure you cannot get that same venue for free? What if you partner with another NGO who has a venue, or you partner with an organization that has venue, or you partner with an events company and get that same venue for free, right? So, your budget, because if you live in a place like Lagos where some venues are like 200,000 per day or 500,000 per day, and you now want to spend 500,000 on hiring one bidder for a project, and you're not saying that the funder did not select you. How did the funder select you? The funder would rather give that same money to another organization, who is willing to get that venue, same venue for free somewhere, right? So you need to show prudence with your budget, right? Your budget has to be realistic, right? It has to make sense, right? You need to show that you are financially prudent with that budget. And you need to, and that budget also needs to reflect the proposal. When I look at the proposal, I should have an idea, a rough idea of what your budget is going to look like. When I look at your budget, I should have a rough idea of what the proposal is saying. There should be no mismatch, right? So I hope that helps you put together a better budget. So I think I'll stop there for now. Let me see. I want to be sure that I'm not missing any question. Can we access templates for grant proposals? So there are plenty proposals on OpenCore. Just type grant proposal templates. There are plenty templates online. You can check them out. Even winning grants, there are a few online. You can check them out. Okay. But on Nigerian institutions funding their grants, I read some online and I realized MacArthur Foundation has done a lot for us right here in Nigeria. Thanks for the response earlier on, everyone. Yes, Billy. MacArthur Foundation is doing massive, they're doing a lot of work, giving out grant funding, a lot of work here. So MacArthur Foundation, please, everybody note that down, go and check them out. Someone is raising up their hand, Medro Health Foundation. Medro, you can unmute your mic, please. Medro, you were raising up your hand. Did you still want to share? Okay, let's continue. Maybe you can, if you can also drop your comments in the comment section. That's fine. Please, wow, what a top-notch session. Thank you. Thank you, Bliss. Thank you. American Spaces Nigeria. Please follow American Spaces. Follow American Spaces on Facebook. Follow them everywhere. Veronica, please, the acronym of analytical stories. What is F for? Facts. Veronica. F is for facts. What is a fact? A fact is a sentence or a claim based on evidence. A fact is a sentence that is based on evidence or a claim that's based on evidence. So, for instance, it is a fact that the population of Nigeria is over 200 million. That's a fact, right? Even World Bank right now, I think they're quoting about over 210 million. I'm not exactly sure, but I am sure population of Nigeria is over 200 million based on facts. I can provide links to maybe Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, World Bank. So that's a fact, right? It's a claim, a sentence that is based on evidence. You can prove it. That's a fact. Treasure, this session is worth my time. Thanks for giving me your time, Benga. You're welcome, Treasure. Could you ask? I want to know what maximum can pages of proposals be. Could you ask? This depends on the funder. And it's going to be in the RFP, in the request for proposal. That's where the funder will tell you that this proposal should not exceed 10 pages, should not exceed 5 pages. And sometimes the funder will even tell you that the font size should not be lower than 10. Why? Because people sometimes can do mago because you want to pack in a lot. You want to say a lot in 10 pages. Some people will now reduce the font size from like 10, will now reduce it to 8 so that the share can meet, right? So, Kudirat, once you check the RFP, you will see, right? The funder will tell you. And some funders don't even use like Microsoft Word. Some of them, they use online forms where they have restricted the number of words. So the funder will not, they will just put it in the bracket, maximum 500 words. If you like 5 more there, it will go through. So it's a function of the funder. Kudirat. Metro, I can't repeat myself, the host is not allowing me. Metro, sorry about that. You can also share your question in the comment section, Metro. You can share your question. We have 12 more minutes, so please, I'm all yours. Combine with questions. Osman, thank you very much. A top-notch presentation and worthy of knowledge sharing. Osman, thank you for your kind words. Treasure, I'd love to listen to this session over and over again, probably do a report from it. Treasure, that would be nice. As long as you're properly registered with the American Spaces Nigeria, you will get the recording of this session. Benjamin, thank you for sharing the link. Thank you. So it seems like we've exhausted all the questions, and it seems like my job is done. So over to you, sir. American Spaces Nigeria. My job is done here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Let's put hands together for Olubenga. If you are clapping, clap very, very well. A lot of people are here at the American Center in Lagos and they're clapping for you. Thank you very much. While the session was going on, I could see that the number of people that were on the Zoom room, the number was consistent, at least for the first 1.5 hours. So that shows that the level of information and knowledge that was shared today was very, very valuable. One more time, let's put our hands together for Mr. Lugolo. He's one of our alums, and he's giving this to us free of charge. Sincerely, some of us do not know if you were to charge for this, I know you will have said, pay so amount of money. But the US government has been able to provide this to all of us free of charge. I hope that's by Monday when we're going to be having the program. I believe we are going to be much more than this. So I invite all of us to please make sure that we all come, invite our friends. Let's make sure that all our friends are right here and we're all able to benefit more. Till next week,
All right, sir.
Monday,
Sir,
we want to, sorry,
sir,
who is that?
sir, this is Osman from Ghana.
Okay.
So please, can we access it online? Because those of us who are in Ghana, who are in fact getting this opportunity to learn a lot. In fact, I have really learned a lot. I'm really
how did you get to know about this program?
Actually, I'm in a Nigeria Foundation. That's where they put the link. I'm in a
Okay.
yeah.
All right. The way to benefit is actually when we're planning this, we didn't factor Ghana in.
Right.
But we are thinking about extending this to Ghana and the West African region. So the same way you joined us today, so we continue on Monday next week, Thursday next week, and on the upper Monday, that's the day we're going to have the final session. That's December 19.
All right.
So on that, we conclude the session on grant writing. And of course, the NGO training for the year. Whenever we're running similar program, just go to our Facebook page, which I've already posted here.
Yeah,
I have. Where
I'm on a Facebook page. I have even I'm even following you on Facebook.
Great. So you'll be able to get more information, and then you can spread the word. It's absolutely free, and if you can also register, you can also get the link to the recorded of this session, the recording of this session. Thank you very much. And to everybody, we want to thank all our colleagues, the directors of American Spaces, all those who have joined us today from Maiduguri, Osogbo, Port Harcourt, Ikeja. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Even Lekki is here. Benin City is here. Uyo is here. So thank you everybody for joining us. Ibadan is also here. Thank you for joining us. We are very, very, very grateful. If I do not mention your name, it's not because I hate you. You said? Abeokuta is also here. All right. Thank you for joining us. So we want to thank you. I want to close now. Except anybody has any quick question. We have 5 minutes to close. Any quick question?
Yeah, for me, please, I don't have a question, but I really have really benefited from this for today. Even today, even today is my first time joining. In fact, I have really opened my mind in terms of the NGO and everything. Let me say a very big thank you to the lecturer who just came on to teach us. And once again, thank you very much, American Center Lagos, for making this. Yeah, thank you. Sir.
Available to you. Okay. We thank you too for joining us from the back door. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. All right. Any other person? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Olasupo Joe. Is it the same Olasupo Joe that I know? Unmute yourself.
Yes, it's the same Olasupo Joe that you know.
Oh, how are you today, sir?
Yeah, it's been some time, guys. This is a very, very good one. I want to commend you and congratulate the center for the great job you have always done for so many years that I've known the center. You have been a great benefit to our youth, especially. And we keep on recommending the center to as many youths as we are able to come across. This particular one, I always like to participate, but incidentally, I was held in a meeting, and I came late. I want to apologize for that, and I hope we will have the benefits of the record, so that those of us latecomers who are otherwise engaged can then sit down at night and listen to it carefully. I also want to thank the presenter. It's just beautiful. It's so marvelous and amazing. And I thank everybody too for coming. Thanks so much, American Center. God bless you.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Thank you. And Barrister Lashupojo is one of our most revered alum, and is always one of our resource persons at the American Center. So thank you very much, sir. Very grateful. Yes, sir. Solomon, and that's the last person. Solomon, over to you very quickly.
Thank you very much. I really need to appreciate the American Center for putting up something like this. I've really learned a lot. Solomon Okwade from Chrisland University. I can see some of our lecturers on the list. Many of them are asking if they can get certificate, though we may not be able to attend physically 100% at the American Center here in Abeokuta, but we would like to have the certificate if we can have the attendance from our offices. Thank you, sir.
Okay. You know, the challenge here is, you know, when we started this journey about 6 months ago, we laid the foundation, we laid the rules. You know, it's like now we want to change the goalpost. So when we want to start the next round, we factor all that in. The major reason why we want people to come in physically, in person, is because we want people to leave everything and be here so that they can be well focused on the sessions. You know, like you are there in the office, you can just put off your video and start attending to somebody. And you say you have attended the session. So if you tell us you were there, we say yes. Well, you see, you saw the way Barrister told us that he was called in a meeting. All you will have done is just to put it on and go for the meeting and then come back before the close. And so if we have to do that outside our network, then we must have a very super arrangement in place. You remember, this is US government. We need to do things very, very well. So that's why we've taken that position. We'll review it as time goes on, but let's finish this one first, and then we can talk about the other one. So thank you, everybody. I have to close now. It's exactly 1 o'clock. And so I want to thank everybody for coming. And I want to thank Olubenga for this wonderful session. We've all benefited, and have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.